Hello and welcome back. We're now going to focus on the basics of memory and storage of information. It's test time now. We hope you students remember what they've learned. You walk around the room glancing at the students' test documents. But how much stuff can the average person hold in their memory at one time? Let's go back to your favorite form, the 1040. Besides the intimidating vocabulary and the tricky phrases and sentence constructions, you have to remember what you wrote on form 3456, then transfer it to line 12, or was it Schedule A? Is it any wonder that Jackson Hewitt, neighborhood CPAs, and TurboTax do so well at tax time? Remember, we said that modifying information doesn't always mean reducing the concepts. When you use online tax prep, you still have to input the same information as if you were staring at the paper forms, but the data you input is presented in a more user-friendly format. If TurboTax can do it, why can't we when we are teaching concepts? Now, a frightening concept. How many times do you think that you have to be presented with a new word or idea before it has meaning to you and you are actually able to remember it? 5 times? 10 times? 20 times? Well, hang on to your hat. Some researchers say that you actually have to hear a concept or idea repeated 40 times before your brain accepts it into long-term memory. Why, for example, are roads like Preston Road where they are? Well, in years past, that path is now Preston Road, which was part of the cattle drive path to take cattle from the south to the north. When the cattle drives were coming to an end, that giant path made by the cattle and the wagons and the horses remained relatively straight, and it was paved over and it became Preston Road. What we're getting at here is that memory is very important. And to understand a concept or idea, it has to be repeated in a variety of ways. For example, if I said the word book to you 40 times as a baby, and all I said was book, 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 it really wouldn't stick. Think about the times when you've heard the word book. It's not in isolation. You say things like, "Where's my book? We're going to take our books to the library. Give me my book. My book is torn. Where's your book? What's your favorite book? Which book would you like me to read for bedtime tonight?" So we not only repeat that word, but we repeat it in different contexts that are meaningful. When you think about the instruction that you provide, think about how many times you might say a particular word or concept, and keep in mind that your brain needs lots of repetition in a variety of contexts. So if you're teaching an isolated concept and you're only presenting it in one lesson, it's not really likely that it's going to stick. What about the concepts that we've learned? What is your working definition of the word philosophy? We've heard philosophy of life. What's your philosophy? Okay. So where did you get that definition? People say things like, "My philosophy of life is," and we study ancient philosophers in Greek and Roman literature. We've grown to understand that philosophy means what you believe about the way life should work. But that is not the actual definition of philosophy. Philosophy actually means the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence. especially when considered an academic discipline. So now, just because you say something over and over again doesn't necessarily make it true. Okay. Zoom out. Okay, so now that we know it takes a lot of repetition to get a new idea or concept into memory, let's talk about how we juggle those things when we're dealing with an everyday basis. Let's talk about phones. Whether you have an old-style landline or a cell phone, about how many digits is your phone? Well, let's think about that. You have an area code, which is 3 digits. Then you have a 3-digit exchange, and then 4 more digits. So that's a total of 10. But if you're giving someone your phone number, generally, how many numbers do you actually use? You use the first digit of your area code, such as 2 or 8 or 9. Your exchange and your 4 digits, which means 8 numbers. If you're old school like me, they use names for the exchanges. For example, when I grew up, my home number was Montana 10354, which translates to 6610354. Then came dreaded area codes. Oh, now we have to remember those. Well, let's see what we have here. We now have 945, 214, 817, and 469. I would venture to say that the majority of people have a lousy memory as to their own phone number because they don't have to keep it. The cell phone keeps it for us permanently. So for people that lose their phones, upgrade them, misplace them, or drop them, they go into panic mode. Because the first thing they have to do is send everyone they can remember a message saying, "Could you please send me your phone number because I lost my phone?" We have freed ourselves from remembering those little yet essential details. Do we free students the same way when they don't remember all the details of a lesson? No, we don't. Your brain is generally capable of holding about 8 things actively in your thinking at one time. More than 8 is overload. Think about the times you've been in a faculty meeting when the agenda may have 14 or 15 different items, most of which are new concepts, rules, ideas, or laws you're required to implement, and the principal goes over them pretty quickly and expects you to know them. Fortunately now, principals tend to share those same announcements over PowerPoints, emails, Google Slides, so you can read them or study them later. When I ask teachers to tell me what they expect students to know, the first response is, "Well, everything I teach is important." And the problem with that is, if you happen to teach 10 or 15 new ideas at one time, students are not going to be able to hold all those ideas in their memory, or something's going to give. What I'm suggesting here is that you use scaffolding, mnemonics, and those 5 takeaways to help cement knowledge as we approach or exceed those 8 items at a time. In the next lesson, we're going to explore ways to memorize information. I would encourage you to use the QR code to tell me how I'm doing. Thanks, and have a great day.